T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff. Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Yes, that's right. This is Sports and Other Stuff. We, the National Football League, admit we were wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier and encourage all to speak out and peacefully protest. That was NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. We'll talk about that. Plus, Conor McGregor says so long, and a guy claims he put cork in Pete Rose's bats. All right, so let's talk about Roger Goodell, the NFL, taking a knee. Colin Kaepernick gets pretty involved.
Well, I would say that Roger's trying to straddle that fence to appear like he cares about the issues that are at the front of the public's mind at this point. He's just it's a business move on his part. So we'll see. You notice he never mentions Colin Kaepernick at all.
Correct.
So that leads me to believe this is a very calculated political move, and he's trying to get the players, calm them down while maintaining whatever audience that he's trying to maintain with the NFL.
See, but what I thought is with that settlement they had with Colin, I wonder if they can't say his name.
I don't know. That's an interesting point. Yeah.
I think to me the thing that's fascinating is because Peter King had a piece on it this morning that the reaction possibly with Goodell came out. It wouldn't have been possible if not for a 27-year-old editor for the NFL who essentially kind of went rogue, and his name was Brendan Minter, and he worked for the NFL, and he just what he felt the league was doing at that time he thought was too lukewarm, so he reached out to Michael Thomas, and through Michael Thomas he got all these other players, and then in the span of I think 2 days was able to turn around 100 video files and turn it into that montage where they say all of the people have died from police brutality in just a short amount of span. So it's just, again, to be fair to what Lugs was talking about, he was forced to basically, because all these players put together this presentation, and also the people that have worked for him, like Sam Weiss has talked out about not enough has been done for black players. And it's not just players. He talked about Sam Weiss, who works at the network. He talked about how when he looks at the top offices, he doesn't see anyone of his skin color for the most part. I mean, it's mostly just white men, some white women. So it's he's bringing up, and obviously you have the situation with them adjusting the Rooney Rule. So it is kind of funny, what Lug's saying. They're trying to save face, but I don't think that's gonna cut it. In this situation, they're gonna have to keep revising revisions and at this point, they can't do if you want to protest, just stay in the locker room, whatever. You're gonna have to allow them to protest however they want on the field.
Yeah, and I think it is an opening for Colin Kaepernick to play it in the NFL again. I think there will be enough pressure from present players when Mahomes comes out, when those kind of guys come out. Mm-hmm. That's your money. That's your jersey sales. That's the face of the NFL. And so I think Kaepernick has a shot. We'll have to see what actual change will come about, but that's always true of anything. It's always, let's see what happens.
Well, the burden is now on the owners, right? They've got to step it up and make some change.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because, again, even though Goodell is the commissioner in NFL, he is there to act as a liaison for the owners. The owners actually kind of control the NFL. It's one of those weird power dynamics where that's the thing is like, Jerry Jones's history and some of the other owners' history, they are not about the kneeling at all. Now, obviously some of them probably softened on it, but if they're willing to allow is another thing entirely, I think. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the first game.
We didn't even talk about like Drew Brees, Drew Brees, which again, like that's why I don't think it'll cut it anymore. Like if people try to hide behind, it's the military thing, and obviously, he was shamed into apologizing, but I think on some level he probably does mean it. I mean, people could say it's calculating because obviously he has the NBC deal coming in possibly next year or the year after that. So like he wanted to save face so he didn't lose that golden egg down the road.
Good point.
But I mean, like I just don't think they're gonna allow that to happen. Like they're gonna have to express, and also just going back to coaching things. There's like again, I know he's the face. Probably the main guy who gets pointed out, but like you look at what the offense has done, and I know you can't take Patrick Mahomes with you, but you look at how good the offense has been the last 2 years. Eric Bieniemy has to get a job this year, or it's going to be a really bad look for the NFL. That's all I have to say.
And I agree with you that Kaepernick will get a job. Now, where will that be?
It'll be tough. I would say somewhere in. Maybe Minnesota.
I'll tell you, I think the perfect place for him to go, because they even talked about it a few years ago, and I don't know who in the chain of command didn't want to greenlight it. I mean, it would be a backup, but I think Seattle would be the perfect place for Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll, I think Pete Carroll embraces it. I think Schneider would embrace Kaepernick. Yeah. That's the thing. I don't know about. I guess Paul Allen owns it. I don't know Paul Allen's stance. I would assume he'd be okay with it. Seattle's a very, liberal. From little I know, it seems fairly liberal in terms of mindset. So
open-minded.
Yeah.
And a similar type of quarterback can run a similar type of offense.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I will say, I mean, I think he could be a starter for a few teams, but the excuse that he shouldn't be in the league anymore is like, I mean, not that we're not going to spend time. But if you start looking at some backups on teams, you're like, I don't know how you can justify being like, yeah, he can't be in the NFL. It's like Jeff Driscoll, I believe, is a starting backup for someone. And
here comes the Brian Hoyer discussion, right? Brian Hoyer. Oh boy. All right, shall we move on to the next topic? Conor McGregor announces his retirement for the third time in 4 years. Posting on Twitter this week, he also announced retirements in 2016 and 2019. First of all, this is sports and other stuff. Is the other stuff UFC, and we're going to talk about it? Take it away, I guess. Wow.
Well, Conor is, again, the face of UFC, really. And he's just feeling like he has to get a few headlines. And so he does this occasionally. I mean, it's he's not going to retire. His ego couldn't handle not being in the spotlight. But it's just funny to me that your main guy, he does get them press. I'll give him that. And he and Mayweather, I mean, they may fight again. That was such a sham the first time, though.
So true.
So anyway, it makes for a good copy. I'll say that.
Stop the presses.
I just enjoy it because it's like, is it really news just because now we have such a long history of like boxing, and even though I know it's predetermined, even like professional wrestling, like people in those circles, they get to a point where they're like, you know what, I'm beat up, I'm done, I'm retired, and then like what you all have said, they get the itch. Not even like 3 months later. They just needed 3 months to get away and decompress from whatever their environment was. And then they're like, yeah, I'll come back. So it's I think the thing that's more fascinating is what would a guy like Conor McGregor do? Like, I mean, he's probably like late 30s. Like what would he do with the rest? Would he open a gym?
Nah,
would he become
He'll open a bar.
Trainer?
Sell beer.
Yeah. Would he be an endorser for someone's beer, or would he get his own beer?
No, he's a Guinness guy.
He's a Guinness guy.
We touch of the Guinness, yes.
Yeah. So
if he had his own beer, what would it be named? I guess because his ego would be McGregor. Yeah, but it would probably be like Guinness. Would it be a stout guy? Would that be?
Oh yeah.
Would it be a stout?
It's got to be.
He wouldn't be any like Indian Pale Ale or anything.
Thick.
No. No IPAs for Conor McGregor.
Stand a fork up in that. It's going to be so thick. I'm Conor McGregor, and it's a thick beer. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Brian Greenberg, a Florida man who claims Pete Rose called him Corky, says he put cork in baseball bats used by Rose while he was with the Montreal Expos in 1984. Not first-time accusations for Charlie Hustle. So why now? And do you really care?
No. I don't even think most people at this point know who Pete Rose is. It's like, it's like,
who are you,
really,
Pete Rose?
Who really cares? And the fact is, a corked bat for a man who hits singles, that's not, I mean, that's just a strange concept to me to begin with. I can believe he would do it, but he still had to hit that ball. It's not like that bat would magically jump out in front of the ball. So,
and your experiences from playing baseball at Joliet Junior College when you were a youngster?
Oh yeah, I played Little League for 1 year. And then I discovered cheer wine.
What wine?
Cheer wine.
Yeah.
So
I just want to go back to J-Boy's point. I think the more fascinating part of the story is like, where does this guy who came up with this story, or a guy who kept this buried, where did he decide like this is the time to put this in the news cycle? Like, you wait till Pete Rose is completely out of, like, his Q rating has dropped like below the line of no return, and like this is the time to unload the story.
Well, he was having a drink with Conor McGregor. I don't know.
Well, this reporter Joe Capozzi, and that's his name, from the Palm Beach Post, says he met him at his house, and the guy went digging through his garage and found the Black & Decker drill. He says, "Oh, I used to do home repair with this. Oh, no, by the way, I used to cork bats for Pete Rose with this same drill." In 1984. Okay, 1984 is, 36 years ago?
Wow.
Did he also have like a pizza box in his garage? He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the guy who got Jordan sick
right.
with the flu game.
I'm your flu game guy."
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's time for. Hang on, I got to hit the big theme song here. Sports of yesteryear. Here comes. Well, Pete Rose would be considered sports of yesteryear, but maybe there's some other things older than Pete Rose somebody might actually know. Here's Lugs to tell us all about it.
All right. In 1934, the Cincinnati Reds became the first team to travel by plane.
Wow.
It was a two-seater, and the rest of the guys just kind of ran underneath it. So,
okay, yeah. Sure.
Speaking with baseball, 1969, the Yankees retired Mickey Mantle's number 7. And Mickey had a beer. Okay, let's move to horse racing. 2015, American Pharoah wins the Belmont to become the first Triple Crown winner since affirmed in 78. And Steve Cawthon was there. For those of you who remember anything about horse racing, he rode Affirm. There you are. And he was 18 years old at the time.
Okay.
That's it for sports of yesteryear.
Thank you, Lugs, for remembering who Steve Cawthon is. We don't remember him. We don't remember Pete Rose, but Mickey Mantle, he had a beer. Thank you, Lugs. Also on the docket today, haikus. And here with that late breaking news is T-Dog, Mr. Dog.
Thank you. These are for Lugs. Lugs requested them, and since he talked about this guy last week, I thought might as well just put them together. So here's a haiku for Bill Russell.